Welcome to the deep dive. Our mission here, it's pretty simple. We take a stack of complicated source material, all the research, the narratives, the notes, and we just drill down.
We drill down to find those foundational human truths that are buried right under the surface.
Exactly. We're here to give you the shortcut to being truly, truly well-informed.
And today we are immersing ourselves in a fascinating and really highly detailed narrative that tracks a major life transition. And on the surface, it looks like a story about planning a wedding. But it's actually a stunning piece of behavioral analysis.
It's so much more than that.
It is. It focuses on high-stakes planning, just the brutal collision of finance and family and, the psychological weight of having to perform your status.
That's right. We are dissecting this chaotic period right after an engagement, and we're using notes and correspondence that detail the lives of Rebecca Bloomwood and Luke Brandon.
And these sources, they paint a picture of just intense crisis. I mean, the simple act of merging two lives, it forces them to deal with these complex financial contracts, extreme and competing family expectations.
Right, and massive logistical conflicts that honestly threaten to implode the whole thing.
Yeah, so our deep dive today is going to focus on three key areas. First, the philosophical differences in how they view, joint consumption and finance.
Okay.
Second, the emotional and financial debt that's just inherent in navigating two radically different family visions for a wedding.
Two completely different worlds.
Completely. And then finally, the high price of seeking approval, especially for Luke, and how anyone, manages to break free from these toxic contracts. This material really shows you what happens when you're just flooded with conflicting demands and information overload.
Okay, let's unpack this. And I think the best place to start is right at the foundation of their shared life. The money.
Always the money.
It always is. The documented financial reality kicks off on November 7, 2001. We've got confirmation of a new joint bank account opened with Mr. Luke J. Brandon at Second Union Bank. It's the formal start.
And what's immediately fascinating is Rebecca's attempt to establish this personal, almost friendly relationship with what is, an institutional contract.
Yeah, she's trying to humanize it.
Exactly. She's grappling with the rigidity of joint finance, and she tries to soften it. Our sources show she actually wrote a letter specifically to the Director of Customer Relations, a man named Walt Pittman.
And this wasn't about interest rates or overdraft fees?
Not at all.
She asked him his favorite color. She's trying to build a personal rapport with her bank manager.
Precisely. And on December 12, 2001, she gets a response. Walt Pittman writes back, confirms his favorite color is red, and even agrees that the relationship between a bank and its client should be, and I'm quoting here, one of friendship and cooperation.
So for Rebecca, this is a huge win, right? She thinks she successfully personalized the cold, unfeeling world of corporate finance.
She does. It sounds almost heartwarming, really.
It does, until the sources deliver this ultimate reveal about who she's corresponding with. It just puts such a cynical corporate spin on their entire financial life together.
Oh, it's a spectacular piece of corporate strategy.
Yep.
The material eventually discloses that Walt Pittman is entirely fictional.
He doesn't exist.
He does not exist. He's a non-existent, generic PR persona.
Yeah.
And the name was chosen after extensive focus group research because it suggested someone, quote, approachable yet competent.
Wow.
And continuing this relationship with a fictional character, answering questions, confirming favorite colors, it was proven to have increased customer confidence and loyalty by over 50%.
50%. That is a staggering return on investment for just inventing a friendly guy named Walt. What does that even tell us about the state of financial trust back then? That the bar was so low that just making up a pen pal could boost loyalty by half?
It tells us that customers were desperate for some kind of emotional connection, even in the most transactional relationships. The bank understood that finance is inherently anxiety-producing. So instead of fixing the actual problems, they just created a comforting facade.
So Rebecca's impulse to personalize her finances was met with a highly polished, calculating corporate mirror.
Exactly. A mirror designed only to maximize confidence. It really sets the theme perfectly, this tension between genuine emotion and performance.
And that just sets the perfect stage for how she approaches the day-to-day reality of this joint account.
Absolutely.
I mean, Luke, he runs a major communications company. He's clearly detail-oriented, financially very strict, and right away he asks about the bank statement.
Of course he does. And Rebecca, fearing that scrutiny, she resorts to what you can only really call tactical financial evasion.
She admits to hiding the statements.
She confirms hiding them, yeah. Primarily in her underwear drawer, which she decided was the safest place. But the real genius of her deception is the planned fluid spill.
Right, the orange juice plan.
Yes. She wasn't just hiding them, she was creating a contingency. She planned to spill orange juice or tea or even just tap water onto the statement to conveniently obscure any problematic entries.
Like that $70 charge at Bloomingdale's?
Exactly like that. The mess becomes the cover story.
But that $70 charge, that's really just the symptom, isn't it? The core issue here is this fundamental philosophical clash over what a joint expense actually is.
It's a massive clash. Luke's definition is almost brutally corporate. He defines household expenses strictly as joint expenses pertaining to the running of this apartment and our lives. Food, fuel, cleaning products, and so on.
Pure utility, pure necessity.
That's it. But Rebecca's definition is so much broader, so much more subjective. She tries to justify buying a new Miu Miu skirt by arguing, it's in the household, isn't it? I wear it, and the household benefits from me looking good.
I mean, you have to admire the logic, but
It's a stretch.
it's a big stretch. And this isn't about $70 anymore. This is about two completely incompatible worldviews. Utility versus desire, logic versus aspiration, all trying to share a single financial ledger.
And the conflict isn't resolved through negotiation. It's resolved, or rather managed, through deception.
She can't convince him, so she just hides the evidence.
Right. It suggests that Luke's financial contract, this joint account, it only functions smoothly if Rebecca maintains complete transparency, which is a condition she consistently fails to meet.
And this leads us directly from these sort of mundane hidden charges to much more aspirational, high-value acquisitions. Let's look at how the idea of investment is used to justify impulse shopping.
Okay.
We see this play out perfectly when she's shopping for a wedding gift for her friend Suze at Graham's Antiques.
Ah, yes, she finds the object of desire almost immediately, a massive, magnificent 18th century silver soup tureen.
And she's instantly imagining the family coat of arms, the engraving, the heirloom status. The whole fantasy of permanent old world status just clicks into place.
But the reality check is just as immediate.
The $4,000 price tag.
Exactly. $4,000 is too expensive. The desire is instantly rejected on the grounds of pure cost. What's so telling, though, is how quickly she manages to transfer that desire onto other items and then rationalize the spend.
She says no to the $4,000 item.
But then successfully navigates the store, finding other things that scratch that same acquisition itch, just with smaller price tags that, still add up.
So first, she settles on a pale silk and leather trunk for $300.
And her immediate rationalization is this self-coined maxim. You can never have too much luggage. It's this mix of future utility and a little bit of romance.
And then comes the grander purchase, an $800 1930s cocktail cabinet, and this one gets the ultimate justification label.
She explicitly calls the cocktail cabinet a genuine investment for the future.
Ah, the investment label.
It's key. Unlike the soup tureen, which was purely an ornamental status symbol, the cocktail cabinet has implied social utility. It helps with entertaining, which is part of their professional life.
So she successfully frames these pretty significant impulse buys, $1,100 total, as long-term investments that she and Luke will treasure. She avoids the one big-ticket item only to spend a ton on two others.
The drive to acquire status objects is still paramount, but it's just masked by the language of investment.
Okay, so let's take that philosophy of consumption and connect it to the high-pressure environment she's now in. Our source material introduces this fascinating cultural detail. The Manhattan once-over. This is where the status of shopping really becomes weaponized.
The Manhattan once-over is described as this almost involuntary social habit. It's a quick, 3-second, top-to-toe calculation of the cost of someone's entire outfit the moment you meet them.
It's not just idle gossip. It's an immediate, high-stakes status assessment.
It is. And this cultural norm means that every single thing Rebecca wears, every accessory, every visible purchase, is being instantly and financially judged by everyone she meets, from society hostesses right down to the doorman.
The psychological pressure from that must be immense.
It's huge. The environment dictates that your appearance is quantifiable proof of your success and your standing. It confirms that the financial life they're trying to share isn't just functional, it's a public performance.
And Rebecca is desperate to pass the once-over.
Desperate. And this concept, it perfectly explains the massive shift in her consumption focus once the engagement becomes official.
Because now she finds this avenue for status consumption that is seemingly guilt-free.
With the wedding registry.
Shopping without spending.
It becomes the ultimate expression of this Manhattan consumerist desire. I mean, she goes wild. She registers at this dizzying array of high-end, high-status locations.
Williams-Sonoma, Tiffany, Bergdorf Goodman.
Barney's, Bloomingdale's, Crate and Barrel. She opens multiple overlapping lists. It's a full-scale operation.
And the contents of these lists are just wonderfully absurd. They demonstrate this isn't really about setting up a home.
No.
It's about collecting status symbols that will impress all those people doing the once-over. We see these high-end novelty items mixed with just total redundancy.
Oh, totally. We're talking about specialized utensils like lobster crackers and corn holders, things for very specific, very infrequent uses.
And then there's the kitchen appliance explosion.
The appliance proliferation. A frozen yogurt maker, a waffle maker, a bread cooker, and, crucially, a Pro Chef premium toaster oven, among others.
The fact that she registers for multiple toasters across different lists just underscores that this is a performance it's driven by excess.
And he goes way beyond housewares. She registers for things like a Gucci handbag, which she then tries to rationalize to Luke as his and hers luggage.
That's another great example of her bending the definition of housewares to include personal luxury goods.
Absolutely. The registry, in this context, it's not a functional tool for setting up a home. It's a public declaration of aspirational status, and it's dictated by the culture she's now immersed in. She is using the wedding as an opportunity to secure items that will elevate her perceived cost during the Manhattan unwind. Once over, all without Luke's direct scrutiny of their joint account.
So these philosophical conflicts over money and status, they provide the backdrop, but the actual drama just explodes with the immediate conflict over where and how they're going to get married.
Yes.
We are talking about two massive competing weddings, each one representing a completely different kind of contract of commitment.
But before we even get into the logistics of those two events, we have to establish the relational fragility that's just underpinning this entire conflict.
That's a great point.
The timeline is incredibly compressed, and the proposal itself highlights that Luke and Rebecca were not naturally aligned on this huge life decision to begin with.
That's a crucial detail that was too brief in our initial pass. Luke was actually on the record, quoted in the Telegraph, saying that marriage was, quote, at the bottom of agenda for him.
And Rebecca, trying to manage the external pressure and the perception that she was the one pushing for it, she specifically deflected. She said she didn't want to get married for at least 10 years.
So they had both publicly and privately signaled that they were reluctant.
Very reluctant.
Yeah.
Yet the proposal happens suddenly. It's triggered by Rebecca catching her friend Suze's bouquet at a wedding, which leads to this highly emotional moment where Luke pulls out this beautiful antique diamond ring.
Right.
But the urgency of this emotional proposal, it just crashes headlong into the logistical urgency that's being imposed by her mother.
Because her parents had already secured a date.
Yes, June 22nd, at St. Mary's Church, which is only a few months away. This forces them to condense these massive societal and family expectations into an impossible time frame. It just guarantees conflict. Yeah. They never had time to really align before these two family juggernauts started competing.
Okay, so let's start with the one that represents community and tradition, the Oxshott wedding.
This wedding is defined by deep parental investment. It's a community contract. Rebecca's parents have been saving for this specific event for years. The date, June 22nd, the venue, the local St. Mary's Church. It's all secured and rooted in their home life and their local network.
And the detail here is everything. The sources describe this meticulous planning. A marquee on their 12,000-acre lawn, the flowers, the fireworks, and Mom's personal investment is just huge. It even extends to practical skills.
Yes, Mom gets Janice to attend a napkin arranging course.
A napkin arranging course.
I know. This isn't about outsourcing to professionals. It's about hands-on community contribution. And the most touching detail for me is getting the words Luke and Becky planted in pansies in the garden, time to bloom perfectly for June.
This isn't just a party. It's a reflection of their whole history, their values. It's financial investment, but it's coupled with this massive emotional investment.
And they even declined Luke's offer to help pay, insisting we wouldn't hear of it. This wedding is non-negotiable proof of their love and support, and it's deeply connected to their concept of home.
Okay. Now, switch cultural continents and social spheres completely.
A huge switch.
We have the Plaza wedding in New York City, which is entirely imposed by Luke's mother, Eleanor Sherman. This event has zero to do with community or tradition.
No, it's all about social necessity and opulence.
Eleanor's mandate is a demand. She says this must be the most important social event in all our lives, and it has to be done, quote, lavishly. She immediately dismisses the Oxshott plans as just an unknown backyard in England.
That phrase just signals her complete lack of respect for Rebecca's family and their values.
And her offer to fund the whole thing, which she frames as this generous gift.
It's actually a tool of imposition and control. The venue is the Plaza Hotel, and the details, which are orchestrated by this wedding planner, Robin, are just bizarrely over the top. They're designed purely for spectacle.
The theme alone is a logistical and environmental nightmare. The enchanted forest theme in the terrace room.
I mean, we're talking imported Swiss birch trees, extensive garlands of fairy lights, and trained songbirds that are supposed to sing overhead during the ceremony.
And we should mention, they did reject the idea of an animatronic squirrel.
Yes, thankfully the animatronic squirrel was vetoed. It was on the initial planning notes. But the scale is still absurd. An 8-foot cake that requires multiple meetings at a cake studio, string orchestras, a DJ, a 10-piece band.
It is purely an expensive performance for Eleanor's highly influential, very scrutinizing social circle.
And this opulence is what creates the ultimate contractual trap. Robin, the planner, works for a company called Wedding Events Ltd. And Rebecca, who's just completely overwhelmed by the pressure, is made aware of a financial penalty clause that she signed in the contract.
And that clause, what does it stipulate?
It stipulates a significant financial penalty for cancellation. This transforms the lavish nature of the Plaza event from a gift into a weapon. The higher the cost, the greater the penalty, which makes cancellation financially ruinous.
So she's bound by a contract that demands opulence and performance.
Exactly. It makes the choice between the emotional simplicity of Oxshott and the financial complexity of the Plaza just nearly impossible.
So we've established these two opposing forces, the community contract and the status contract. But the real engine driving this whole conflict is Luke's decades-long desperate need for acceptance from his mother, Eleanor Sherman.
Yes.
This is where the psychological cost of status becomes just heartbreakingly clear.
Luke's entire business expansion to New York, though it's framed professionally, was fundamentally rooted in this need to impress Eleanor, and the source material provides stunning evidence of her deliberate transactional cruelty towards him. She uses his success as leverage.
Let's talk about the foundation and the assistant, because that really shows Eleanor's willingness to use his business as her own personal slush fund.
Right. So Eleanor sets up the Eleanor Sherman Foundation and immediately makes Luke a director. But she instantly starts to abuse that power.
How so?
She assigns a Brandon communications assistant to work for her foundation full-time, while forcing Luke's company to continue paying the salary and all the benefits.
So it's a blatant financial drain that's just disguised as charity, and this infuriated his partner, Michael Ellis.
Deeply. Michael saw this as setting the wrong precedent and a dangerous use of company assets for purely personal gain or, maternal manipulation. It's an act of control that pits Luke against his own mentor.
And this financial manipulation connects directly to the root of Luke's emotional damage, right? His childhood trauma.
It does. The sources reveal this incident from when Luke was 14. He took a school trip to New York specifically to see his mother. When he finally found her on the street, she saw him, looked directly at him, and then she turned away, pretending not to recognize him.
That is just unbelievably cold.
It's brutal. And when he confronted her about it years later, Eleanor actually confessed that she did recognize him, but turned away out of, her words, apprehension. She claimed she wasn't prepared for seeing him.
That single act of emotional rejection, that's the primal wound. That's what powered his entire obsession with status and success. He believed if he was successful enough, opulent enough, she would finally have to accept him.
And that decades-long emotional rejection, coupled with the immense stress of running Brandon Communications and the specific guilt over the conflict between Eleanor and Michael, that acts as the catalyst for Luke's ultimate crisis.
The actual breaking point comes when Michael Ellis, his business partner and mentor, has a heart attack.
Yes.
This event forces Luke to confront mortality and the meaning of his work, and it leads to his complete mental collapse.
We get this incredible visceral description of Luke entering a state of just existential dread. He talks about quitting everything.
Quitting Brandon Communications to become a politician
Or, even more tellingly, a house husband. He starts physically ripping up company press releases, and significantly, he rips up their joint bank statement, screaming that it's all meaningless, trucking bits of paper. He asks if he's led a fulfilled life.
It's a total repudiation of his entire corporate identity, an identity he built largely to appease his mother. The money, the status, the high-stakes world he lived in, suddenly it means nothing.
It's the ultimate consequence of that high cost of approval.
And the fallout is profound.
It is. Michael Ellis, the mentor, he later recovers and moves to New York, but only to consult part-time. He deliberately shifts his focus, taking up painting and Italian cookery.
He sets this powerful contrasting example for Luke, that corporate burnout can be managed, that life can be reclaimed by focusing on things that actually matter, not just success metrics.
And while Luke is going through this existential crisis, we also see the vital, if somewhat unconventional, role of friends and allies in crisis management.
Yes, Suze. Friendship here is transactional but completely selfless.
Absolutely. Suze, Rebecca's best friend, she sees Rebecca's anxiety over her mother's choice of wedding dress, this very sentimental family heirloom.
And she steps in as a tactical saboteur.
She does. She purposefully spills coffee all over Mom's wedding dress, instantly confirming that the dress is, well, ruined.
Which gives Rebecca the out she needs to avoid wearing the dress without having to cause this painful family confrontation.
It shows that in a world of such high emotional stakes, a little bit of deceit can sometimes serve a higher, kinder purpose.
And that leads directly to the most significant turning point in the entire narrative. Rebecca's calculated confrontation with Eleanor.
Yes. Seeing Luke in such despair, Rebecca realizes the only leverage she has is Eleanor's desperate desire for that plaza wedding performance.
So she uses the plaza wedding as emotional blackmail to force Eleanor to apologize to Luke, to try and heal that decades-long wound.
And what's fascinating here is how absolutely scripted it is. Rebecca doesn't trust Eleanor to come up with a genuine apology, so she just writes it herself.
The script includes admitting she missed him, admitting she was afraid of disappointing him,
and affirming her pride in his success. Rebecca's instructions to Eleanor even included advising her to start with the phrase, "These words don't come naturally to me," just to make the performance a little more believable.
Okay, but I have to challenge this point. We started this deep dive talking about the deception of Walt Pittman, a fictional persona created for corporate gain. Rebecca is now creating an emotional facade, a scripted, forced apology for personal gain for Luke's mental health. Is this really a high-stakes negotiation, or is it just replacing one corporate facade with an emotional one?
That's a critical question. It was transactional, yes, but for a selfless end. Rebecca is performing this act to neutralize Luke's wound. She says she needed to fix it so it wouldn't erupt again in 2 years.
She's using the language of corporate leverage.
She is. The plaza wedding contract is her leverage to force a therapeutic outcome. And while the apology wasn't authentic in its origin, the impact of Luke hearing those specific words, even if they were delivered woodenly, was enough to provide the closure he needed.
Closure from that trauma of being turned away at age 14.
Exactly. It was a kind of emotional triage.
And that explains the immediate shift in dynamics. The decades-long pressure point is diffused, not by love or time, but by a forced, scripted performance of regret.
And once Eleanor delivers that scripted apology, the pressure is released, and Luke's internal priorities just immediately snap back into alignment with Rebecca and what he truly wants.
So Luke, having gotten that emotional closure, he unilaterally pulls out of the plaza wedding. He just tells Rebecca, "I just don't feel I can go through with it."
The status performance is over. He readily accepts the switch to Oxshott, pronouncing it perfect.
But this decision, while it's emotionally the right one, leaves Rebecca facing this monstrous logistical challenge.
Oh, it's huge. She now has to manage the simultaneous implosion of the plaza plans, while at the same time accelerating the Oxshott plans.
So the cancellation process is immediate, but it's costly. She leaves a frantic voicemail with Robin, the wedding planner, officially pulling out of the New York event.
Which confirms that significant financial penalty from the contract. The cost of opting out of the status game is now a very real financial figure.
And at the same time, she has to manage her mother's accelerating plans and the expectations of Luke's New York social circle.
And the source material reveals the sheer absurdity of the excuses she has to make up to explain why Luke's family couldn't visit before the wedding. Vague, untraceable plane problems and other transportation disasters.
And the excuses for her own family are just as farcical, but they're designed to manage expectations for the English event. We've got Dad's broken leg, Mom's measles,
Janice's glandular fever. All these highly convenient ailments that prevent pre-wedding visits, which keeps the chaos contained and the two family worlds totally separate until the last possible moment.
But even though Luke is pulled out, The contractual obligation with Wedding Events Ltd. For the plaza still exists.
Yes, which leads to the absurd scenario of the plaza ceremony being performed purely as a legal requirement, not as a true marriage.
It's completely staged. There's no marriage proclamation, no signing of the register. The bridal party is made up of last-minute stand-ins.
Including Aaron Gaylor and Michael Ellis, his recently recovered mentor.
And Rebecca wears a custom Danny Kovitz gown for this event. It's made of white denim ruffles, sequins, and diamante. It's an incredibly high-fashion garment that's perfect for a stage performance, but not really for a religious ceremony.
And the final beautiful detail of the orchestration, Rebecca is carrying a bouquet with a tiny speaker planted inside it.
No way.
Yes. And this speaker is relaying these specific, almost militaristic instructions from the planner. Go, start walking, pause at the altar. It's less a spontaneous moment of joy and more a high-tech fashion show designed to fulfill a contract.
So the moment that contractual performance is complete, the logistics immediately pivot.
Instantly, Laurel, who is Rebecca's client that leases private jets, arranges for immediate private jet transport from Teterboro in New Jersey directly to Gatwick, England.
They literally change their clothes into their second set of wedding attire on the plane. The shift is instantaneous. They move from the cold, high-performance world of Manhattan to the warm, community-driven event in Oxshott.
And the Oxshott wedding is the true event. Rebecca is wearing a second, simpler dress, also designed by Danny Kovitz, but it's appropriate for the garden setting. And crucially, Luke's stepmother Annabelle and his father are there, and they're actively helping.
That signals a real shift in familial connection.
It does. And Michael Ellis and Laurel arrive late, still in their plaza evening wear, which is this clear visual symbol of the long journey and the dual nature of the entire day.
The atmosphere is just contentment, community, genuine emotion, and this is perfectly encapsulated in the wedding speeches, especially the validation given by Michael Ellis, Luke's mentor.
Michael's speech praises Rebecca's growth, but he focuses not on acquisition, but on capability. He praises her ability to handle tricky situations, and he pointedly affirms her ability to do so, quote, without using a Visa card.
That is the ultimate corporate mentor validation. The girl who used to hide credit card statements has found a way to manage crises using wit and strategy, not debt.
And this validation, it just sets the stage perfectly for Rebecca's final choice, which is the definitive rejection of status for experience. It proves her growth from the very beginning.
She reveals that she cashed in all the high-value New York registry gifts.
All of them. All the silver candlesticks, the teapots, the ridiculous number of toasters, all the trappings of status that she acquired under the pressure of the Manhattan once-over are liquidated.
And she used that money to purchase 2 first-class round-the-world tickets for up to a year. This is the culmination of her whole emotional and philosophical journey. She's trading tangible, accumulated status for intangible, shared adventure.
And Luke's response, it just confirms his alignment.
Yeah.
He offers this wry smile and the realization, do I have a choice? It signals that their new life is going to be defined by Rebecca's priorities of experience and adventure, leaving that corporate status-driven world behind them.
They leave Oxshott ready to travel, shifting their focus entirely from what is acquired to what is seen and experienced together.
What an extraordinary, complex journey of logistical dexterity and emotional confrontation this deep dive has revealed.
It really has.
It illustrates a profound point, I think, that life's most significant moments, love, commitment, self-discovery, they often require immense organizational skill, high-level social deception, and sometimes, strategic emotional blackmail, like the Eleanor deal.
All just to achieve authentic personal happiness and break free from these external destructive pressures.
Exactly. The true commitment between Luke and Rebecca, it wasn't forged in the financial contracts or the plaza opulence. It was forged in the shared experience of coordinating, surviving, and ultimately rejecting that absolute chaos.
And we saw Rebecca evolve from prioritizing immediate acquisition and using deception to cover financial impulsiveness to someone who used strategic deception and liquidation of assets to fund a year of world travel.
Yeah.
The real penalty was never the plaza contract. The real toll was the lifetime of performance and status seeking that almost destroyed Luke.
And this brings us right back to where we began, looping back to the world of manufactured customer relations. And it leaves us with one final provocative thought.
Okay.
The source material ends with the revelation that Walt Pittman, the approachable, competent financial representative who promised friendship in banking, does not exist.
Right.
So if our reliance on fictional PR facades governs our institutional transactional relationships in finance, commerce, status, does that suggest that the messy, high-stakes drama of flawed, demanding, and utterly chaotic family relationships, the Oxshott versus Plaza conflict, might actually be the most authentic, albeit painful human connection available to us in the modern world?
Something to ponder the next time you try to bond with your bank manager, real or fictional. Thank you for providing the material for this deep dive and for encouraging us to examine our own life decisions through this newly acquired lens of high-stakes planning and status rejection.